Assalamualaikum and very good morning. Today our group will be presenting our final year project, which is a study on youth participation in solid waste recycling in Malaysia. Before that, I would like to introduce you our group members. My name is Aida Natasha binti Rosli.
My name is Nur Isabel Kis binti Sukri.
Uncontrolled waste disposal is a major concern nowadays, and it has contributed to environmental pollution. Therefore, this matter needs to be overcome by recycling, and it is the best step to reduce pollution. Recycling can be defined as collecting and separating waste to be processed into new or identical items. Although recycling is the best way, recycling is less practiced and it causes more solid waste such as plastic. Malaysia has been ranked 8th in the world due to poor plastic management. This is a record that needs to be changed and cannot be ignored. The issue of solid waste is one of the issues that is constantly highlighted and always be the main topic in Malaysia. The people who are most expected to practice this recycling are the youth, which is youth generation is a group are most expected to do recycling because they will be emulated by future generations. This research will study on the level of youth involvement in the solid waste recycling in Malaysia. There are 3 factors influencing the youth participation in solid waste recycling, which are knowledge, attitude, and moral obligation.
I will explain the problem statement of our research. In Malaysia, there is one problem that need to give attention, which is solid waste issue. This is one of the environmental issue. It can be happen due to the increasing number of population. When population is increased, the amount of solid waste also increase. About 1.17 kg of waste is produced from each person every day, and it may about 90% of the waste will end up in landfills. For our study, we focus on the youth generation. There are 94.5% of youth know about the importance of recycling, but 40% of them are still less to practice recycling due to the time factors and busy work. What we conclude is the youth already have the good awareness in recycling, but they are less committed to solid waste recycling.
Among the objectives focused in this study area are to examine the level of youth participation in the solid waste recycling in Malaysia. Besides that, it will focus on to identify the relationship between knowledge towards the environment and the youth group participation in solid waste recycling. Next, to determine the relationship between attitude and the participation of solid waste recycling among the youth. And lastly, to identify the relationship between perceived moral obligation towards participation in solid waste.
Now, I will describe about the conceptual framework. The dependent variable for this study is youth participation in solid waste recycling. We are want to study about the level of youth participation in solid waste recycling in Malaysia through 3 types of independence variables. The first independent variable is knowledge. Knowledge is a person's understanding of something that gained from experience or education. Next is attitude. Attitude can be defined as a person's perspective and evaluation of something or someone. It is also known as their propensity to react positively or negatively to a particular concept, item, person, and circumstances. Lastly is moral obligation. Moral obligation can be defined as an obligation to do something or not to perform a particular behavior. In terms of the environment, an ethical person will show an obligation which is take care of the environment, or he will be sensitive to ecological issues. This is 3 factors that can influence the youth participation in solid waste recycling.
Hypothesis that we will look is knowledge, which are HO1 is there is an insignificant positive relationship between knowledge and youth participation to solid waste recycling. HA1, there is a significant positive relationship between knowledge youth participation towards solid waste recycling. Secondly is attitude, which is the hypothesis HO2. There is an insignificant positive relationship between attitude and youth participation in solid waste recycling. HA2, there is a significant positive relationship between attitude and youth participation in solid waste recycling. Lastly is the hypothesis moral obligation HO3. There is an insignificant positive relationship between moral obligation and youth participation in solid waste recycling. HA3, there is a significant positive relationship between moral obligation and youth participation in solid waste recycling.
I will describe about the research methodology. Start with research design. The design that has been used in this research is a cross-sectional quantitative survey. Next is unit of analysis. The unit of analysis is the youth who are Malaysians. For sampling technique, this study has used the cluster sampling, which is under probability sampling technique. Lastly, data measurement. We are collect the data through distributing the questionnaire survey by using Google Form.
For the next research methodology, for our research, we target 384 respondents among Malaysian youth, and we managed to get the targeted amount, which is 389 respondents, and it is enough for our survey. For the data analysis, we use normality test, reliability test, descriptive analysis, and lastly is percent correlation. For data collection, we focus on demography, which is in part A. Part B, we focus on youth participation in solid waste recycling. Part C, we focus on knowledge, while part D, we focus on attitude, and lastly, we focus on moral obligation.
Now, I will tell about the finding. There are 389 respondents who are participate in this study. Most of the respondents are female, which is 225 respondents, equal to 57.8%. For the age, the highest respondents are 21 to 25 years old, which is 224 people, equal to 57.6%. Next is race. Most of the respondents are come from Malay race, which is 300 respondents, equal to 77.1%. For marital status, the single category is the highest, which is 299 respondents, equal to 76.9%. Other than that is state. The majority of respondents are come from Johor, which is 130 respondents, equal to 33.4%. For the current living, the majority respondent is live in semi-urban, which is 206, equal to 53%. Lastly is academic qualification. The highest respondents are study on the degree level, which is 146, equal to 37.5%.
Next, I will explain our main finding of our research. The first objective is to examine the level of youth participation in the solid waste recycling in Malaysia. The analysis that we use is descriptive. The result is occur, which is mean value is 3.8324, and it can be concluded that youth in Malaysia has participated in solid waste recycling. The second objective is to identify the relationship between knowledge and the youth participation on solid waste recycling. The analysis that we use is percent correlation. The result is R value is 0.612 and P value is 0.000, and it can be concluded that HA1 is accepted and reject HO1. The third objective is to determine the relationship between attitude and the participation of solid waste recycling among the youth. The analysis that we use is percent correlation. The result is R value is 0.721 and P value is 0.000. It can conclude that HA2 is accepted and reject HO2. And the last objective is to identify the relationship between perceived moral obligation towards participation in solid waste recycling among the youth. The analysis that we use in moral obligation are percent correlation, which is the result is R value is 0.716 and P value is 0.000, and it can be concluded that HA3 is accepted while for HO3 is rejected. We continue to research recommendations. The first recommendation is every youth needs to adapt to recycling in their daily life. To ensure the recycling is practiced by everyone, it should be initiated by individual first. The youth themselves should always recycle when managing solid waste either at home or in public place. To do so, they need to have a sense of responsibility and an obligation to recycle the solid waste, and it must be nurtured from within themselves and be their will to do it. The second recommendation is organizations are recommended to spread the awareness of recycling among the youth. For NGO, they can hold environmental campaigns in schools or higher education institution because it focuses on the youth generation. They can do any talks regarding the benefits of recycling or the exhibitions of recycled products to the students. While for business organization, they can make various kinds of efforts towards preserving the environment while selling their products or service to consumers. For instance, H&M, which is a clothing company, encourage people to recycle clothes they don't want to wear anymore by giving shopping coupons in return. The last recommendation is government need to improve acts and laws related to the recycling. In order to protect the environment from any damage and pollution, the government needs to make recycling mandatory at every level, starting from home to public place. The government needs to improve the existing act, which is the Solid Waste Management and Public Cleaning Act 2007. The act needs to be improved because the existing act seems to be not working. Therefore, the government needs to further tighten the implementation of the act so that the community, especially young people, is involved in recycling solid waste. In addition, besides starting from home, the government also needs to make solid waste recycling compulsory at the school and university levels.
Okay, I will describe the research limitation. There is two types of research limitation. Firstly is the number of respondents. The sample size of our study is 384. So, we need to get 384 youths to fill out the Google form. It has become difficult to us to complete this study due to the biggest number of respondents that we need. It is because we don't have many contacts from every state and it took a long time to reach 384 respondents. Therefore, we can recommend to future researchers that they should only focus on a smaller number of respondents by choosing a smaller population number such as 500 and below. If they only choose a smaller population, the number of sample size also will be small. Okay, another one research limitation is area of study. The research area in this study is the whole of Malaysia, which is from each state. When conducting extensive research and not having a specific area, it is difficult for us to analyze which state that exactly do and practice recycling. When the area is too wide, the result of this study are also general. From what we could recommend to the future researchers, they should focus on a specific place in their study. It is to make easier for the researcher to ask questions to the population and easier to identify problem when the study area is narrowed down. What we conclude for the overall of the study is there is a significant and positive correlation between knowledge, attitude, and moral obligation as the factors of youth participation in solid waste recycling. But each party still need to work together in order to ensure that all of the youth in Malaysia practice recycling. Last but not least, this research can be used as an example for future researchers to get a new perspective on the factors that influence youth in recycling solid waste. That's all from us. Thank you.